Glasgow's organic farm business is in trouble. Bellahouston Park, Glasgow, is one of the city's largest parks. It hosts a running track, a bowling green, a sunken garden, an arts museum, a Macintosh building, and even a dry ski slope. It's also home to Glasgow's only organic farm, run by Locavor, a local food company founded by Reuben Chesters. Locavor has been struggling financially since the cost of living crisis, and last year they launched a fundraiser and thought that things had turned around when this spring the Glasgow City Council offered the company nearly £50,000 to fund expansion. Hope, however, turned to confusion when just a few weeks later the same City Council gave Locavor a notice to evict them from their city farm by the 31st of this month, that's July. Now, we covered that in our weekly news roundup the other day, and today we are happy to report that the date has been moved on to October, so at least all that food slowly ripening in Locavor's polytunnels can be harvested, sold and enjoyed by their Glasgow customers. The future of this company, though, a not-for-profit CIC, is still uncertain unless the City of Glasgow decides that it actually wants to back this venture, help to keep it in business and protect the jobs of their 80 staff. So how has Locavor got to this point? To begin with, Locavor traded as an ethical food social enterprise back in 2011, located in Glasgow's south side. The city farm location was at that time used by the City of Glasgow as a plant nursery. Along with many councils, Glasgow was scaling back its own plant growing side, preferring to save money and buy the plants in from outside suppliers. So the 2-hectare site at Bellahouston was no longer needed. The council actually invited Locavor to take it over in 2016, as the council then had no other use for the site. They still don't. So Locavor inherited a large site, not all of it suitable for veg growing. Many of the polytunnels were in poor repair and some have suffered storm damage. However, Locavor is managing to grow food in the undamaged half of some of those tunnels and in the big greenhouses. To start with, though, the ground had to be improved. The floor in the tunnels was filled by a deep layer of gravel which had to be shifted, and then soil or compost brought in, a lot of it. Still, until the recent financial issues, the company did steadily increase its production of beans, potatoes, tomatoes, chilies, cucumbers and other crops, distributing these from their 2 shops or in their veg box service through those distinctive yellow electric vans. The site did, however, contain large workshops and a lot of equipment which the council wasn't using, so there's plenty of space and there's room for expansion, if only the government could get the official word that they have a long-term future in Bellahouston. At the start of 2024, Locavor CIC did, however, have to wind up, facing debts including unpaid business rates to the City of Glasgow. The entity running their business now is Chard CIC, again a not-for-profit company. That change of ownership seems to be the issue because the original company had permission from the council to operate out of Bellahouston until 2062, but someone in the city chambers decided not to carry over that lease to the new co. Of course, another department in the council chambers, meanwhile, was awarding that grant of £49,990, so this spring Locavor began committing more of its cash to building up the site. They worked on one large greenhouse, again paying to remove that gravel and aiming to fill the space again with imported topsoil and compost. That project has been stopped. Also, they got help in building large workbenches from community payback and assumed that the council money would soon come in to reimburse this investment. Obviously, that money isn't coming now because of that notice to quit. Those benches still have not been used. It seems different departments in the City Council aren't talking to one another, and the city hasn't really made up its mind whether it actually wants to back this city farm and ethical food business at all. In a council packed with the SNP, Labour and Green councillors, that seems a bit odd. The city's attitude to council tax is a key part of the problem. The business equivalent of your council tax is the non-domestic rate, often called the business rate, and it's based on the rateable value of the firm's premises. Under Scottish Government rules, councils should waive up to 80% of the business rates for charities and also have discretion to give relief for the remaining 20%. Now, a CIC is not the same as a charity, but they're clearly not in a position to pay the full commercial rates. Reuben told me that Lochaber have been asking about rates relief, but the council hasn't decided if the reductions apply to them as a CIC. City officials seem to have been doing their best to follow the rules on Lochaber, but surely it's up to re-elected officials to make a policy decision on the continued existence of the city farm. Visitors to the vast Bellahouston Park may look at the information signs to get to one of its many attractions, but for years now those signs don't even tell you that the city farm is there at all. Lochaber does have support in Glasgow. Last week Reuben and his team launched a petition asking the council to let them stay on at Bellahouston, and this quickly gathered over 7,000 signatures in just a couple of days. Lochaber reminded supporters that the council has always backed the venture up to now, and that the ethical business model is a perfect fit for the council's other policies of food growing, fighting climate change, and its open spaces policy. Lochaber does use fields on a farm in Neilston in Renfrewshire rented from a farmer, and that should continue unless the current problems force the enterprise to actually go bust. But Lochaber insists they cannot simply leave Bellahouston and relocate. All those half-completed projects now waiting for clarity. And the site also hosts other businesses: a florist, beekeeping, community plots, vegetables for ethnic cuisine, and others. Lochaber are clear. If the city continues with the eviction notice, Lochaber is finished. The council officials, Lochaber and its supporters have had their say. Now it's time for Glasgow councillors to give a lead and tell us if they are going to let Lochaber flourish.